politics, arts, business, and social issues on The Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV. So a few days, it's going to be Valentine's Day, and I've been struggling trying to think about what the appropriate show would be for Valentine's Day. And I thought, you know what would be interesting? It'd be to talk to a performer, someone who's sort of an expert in music, and talk about what the perfect love songs are, what perfect romance songs are. Frankly, for people that are in romances and in relationships, and some people that aren't and are struggling through, because there are some really beautiful love songs. And so I want to introduce you again to Cyzon, who is a favorite performer of mine. She's a songwriter, she's a performer, she's Polish-Canadian, and she sings in Polish and she sings in Canadian. And actually it's interesting, the last time that I interviewed you was actually here in this studio a year ago before COVID started. It was like a week before the whole close down occurred. And so it's a little bit ironic that you're back again now. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I don't even know where the year has gone. I mean, it's hard to believe.
Well, you've had quite the year, because you've been to Poland. You lived in Krakow for a couple of months, and you've recorded some singles and a music video.
I did. I escaped, was it August 1st, 2020, and I thought I was going for a month or two, and I bought a one-way ticket, and I think that's the best way to travel. Empty suitcase.
Find a one-way ticket.
Empty suitcase, carry on, one-way ticket. I went with 2 suitcases, so I knew I was staying longer, but I didn't know how long, and I stayed a little bit in Krakow. I went to Budapest for a week, and I came back. There was some tragic news of a family member, a cousin, who had committed suicide. So
I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah. My condolences.
I say that because I think it's an important issue. Obviously, I'm switching gears a little bit off of music and Valentine's, but I think we can't, during this past year that has been COVID, which has unfortunately followed us through to 2021 and is not going away anytime soon. I think it's really important to maybe say to anyone that's watching that feels, you know, depressed and sad and like there's no way out, that there is, and that should be, you know, everyone's last resort to think about taking their lives. So that is something that has obviously affected and touched me in a way, and it was something that I did not prepare for going to Europe. But life happens, and it was something my family had to deal with. And then moving past that, I was able to tap into my creative energy and record a cover of a famous Polish band by the name of Bime, who I joined forces with Ilona Kowalik Urbaniak, a dear friend of mine who's also a Canadian artist who moved to Krakow. So we joined forces, and then from that, just the creative energy. They say, you know, once you have a creative streak, it's like a wave you got to ride. So that was the onset of a bunch of stuff that led to original songs and another music video, and it was a good time. I felt for a minute there was no pandemic, and
I guess you came back to Toronto and went into isolation.
And then I went into 15-day quarantine, and you know, Brian, I've self-isolated before. Last time we were here on the show, we talked about my Vipassana retreats, my meditation retreats, which I go away for 10 days voluntarily. So I enjoy doing that because I feel like I need a reset, and it's what I want to do. I want to disconnect. I want to be of service. Or I am just meditating and working on myself. But this was a whole other ballpark, because having
you're forced to do it.
Yes, and the rebel and anti-authority that is me and my entity entirely, it just did not resonate and sit well with me. So I had a problem staying confined to my home for 15 days, and I wasn't the best version of me. You'd think I would meditate for hours on end, and I would, you know, I don't know, reorganize my closets, and I was instead ordering off of, you know, Uber Eats junk food, and just totally spiraled down in a way that, I guess, I don't know, everyone has their good days and off days. That was definitely an off 2 weeks for me. But
now during COVID, you've actually done a couple of live performances on Instagram Live and Facebook Live from a local coffee shop. How's that worked out?
That has been very, very good. I've been super grateful for everyone's support and surprised that people, sent money. We just basically put out an email and said virtual tip jar, and the first time money came through, and then I thought, well, the second time we're going to do this, people aren't going to want to support. But I think you'd be surprised how generous people are, and they want to help artists. I think we've all been affected by COVID one way or another, but I think it's, in a way, it's divided people and isolated people, but in a way it's bringing people together in different ways. Like for myself online, where I can connect, I can do a show and people are watching from Warsaw and Krakow, so that's one real positive from it. And then that people are supporting when they can.
Yeah.
And that makes us feel great, and it gives us fuel to keep doing that, and hopefully you guys benefit from it because you get music to your homes, where otherwise you can't go anywhere to see live music.
So let's talk about music, both bringing people together and apart. Valentine's Day is coming up soon. Bringing people together. There's got to be more music about love than anything else, right?
I think, yeah, the majority, I would say. And even if it's not about love per se, relations between two humans, it's about a kind of universal love. I don't know, you two singing about one love, or it all somehow comes back. I think underlying everything in every single song ever written, it comes down to love.
What's your favorite music about love?
Oh gosh, even songs like about lack thereof love, right? Like Killing in the Name of Rage Against the Machine or something. Like, I feel like it's all trying to get to a place of love. Like, we're all fighting to be loved, to receive love, so then we can give it back.
We're all fighting to receive love so we can give it back.
Give it back, but we have to learn how to love without wanting anything in return. And I think that's real love. If you can love someone without the expectation of that being returned to you, if you can just be in a state of love, that's the true art of loving.
Have you achieved that?
I have my moments, I think, where I have zero expectations, and it comes up in meditation for me, where I could be upset about something, or I'm not getting what I want, and then it's like a reset, it's like a pivot, where it's not about me and what I'm getting. And first of all, loving somebody else has to start with loving you. If you don't love yourself, we all know this, right? But then I think the second tier of love is like, can you give love to people, compassionate love, wishing people well, even and especially if they've hurt you and done harm to you. That's real love, and that's a whole concept that I think in theory we grasp, and then it's much harder to put in practice. So to answer your question, I have my moments where I feel like,
Well, I think that there's two sort of sayings or poems that I think I've actually mentioned to you in the past, that my father once told me, that if you love something, set it free. Mm-hmm. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it never was. Yes. And I found that, I've always found that quite poignant. I'm not sure if I completely agree with it, but always found it quite poignant. And the other one that I thought was love, because it was wonderful, and I think it's good because I think some people confuse love and possession.
Absolutely.
And it was, and I'm not going to quote this completely correctly, but something along the lines of, if you love a flower, you'll water it. If you want to possess it, if you pick it, you just want to possess it.
Mm-hmm. And then what happens when the flower is picked? It dies.
It dies.
Yeah.
But that's when you want to possess it. You want to own it. Mm. And in that process, you are killing it.
Absolutely. And we live in a culture of materialism, consumption, and I think that's, this concept of love, which is really free, and free to blossom, free to grow and flourish, that we try to, clasp this other human being and call it love and say, you're my wife and now you can't go and love anybody else. But really, I think, we're even capable of loving more than one person at a time. And I mean, does that mean that we need to be with a bunch of people at the same time? Probably not. And that's what makes, intimate love so special, is that you want to reserve that for one person. But love is free. Love is not to be possessed. Absolutely. And love is not jealous. Love is not rage. Love is not even really passion, because I think it's that passion that fuels our desire. And then there's the attachment, right? And when we have attachment, this is very Buddhist, that's when there's misery in our lives, because then the lack of that person, or the lack of that sensation that makes us feel good, is what constitutes our unhappiness. But when we detach ourselves and we can love And this is where it gets confusing with passionate love because it is that, it's passionate. So the tendency is to want to possess it.
You sing a song that I quite enjoy, that is almost about not wanting to be in love. I think it's called Wicked Game or something like that.
Well, and I think you're touching on what I tried to say earlier about even the songs that are about brokenheartedness and not wanting to love, right? Because Chris Isaac sings, I don't want to fall in love, but he does. He's so afraid of loving, and he has probably loved so hard. I mean, at least that's my own interpretation of it. Is that it's really like the subtext is that he so desperately wants to fall in love that he's afraid of it.
He's afraid of love because it sort of takes over your life.
Well, I think it's, they say love is the strongest drug. I mean, what else is there, right? You can run, you can do your yoga, but then you meet another human being and it's like, and it is scary because it is a codependency on another person. If you go for a jog in the park, you're completely independent. If you fall, you trip, that's on you. But if, you start to put, as they say, your eggs in another basket and then all of a sudden that basket breaks, then your eggs hit the floor and you got scrambled eggs.
Your eggs hit the floor. Can you sing that for us?
What I just made up now,
no,
or
the Wicked Game?
Sure. I mean, I don't have any instrumentation here, but a cappella, of course, for you, anything. The world was on fire, no one could save me but you. Strange what desire will make foolish people do. See, there's that desire. I never dreamed that I'd meet somebody like you. I never dreamed that I'd love somebody like you. No, I don't wanna fall in love. This love is only gonna break your heart. I don't wanna fall in love. I don't wanna fall in love with you.
Wonderful. But you're saying that while the songwriter doesn't want to fall in love, he really does want to fall in love.
Well, my interpretation on the motion in the song, and I'm sure you've seen the video with him, Helena Christensen, is one of the most classic, hottest videos ever shot. There is fire there. There is desire. There is love, and to quote another great love song, Pink, one of my favorite Pink songs, where there is desire, there's gonna be a flame. Where there is a flame, someone's bound to get hurt. And then whatever follows after that. But just because it hurts. Wherever there's
love.
Wherever there's a fire, there's going to be a flame. Or wherever there's
love, there's going to be a flame. Wherever there's a flame, someone's going to get burnt.
Yeah, and just
so
because
it's love means passion, but passion means problems.
I think that we have to see love as this whole, this entity, and that we have to find the balance between the passion, which entails the flame, and the desire, which entails the possession of another human being. And so the passionate love and the other side to love, which is the compassionate love. And if we find the balance, because I think love, just compassionate, would be boring without the passion. We wouldn't have all these love songs. We wouldn't have broken hearts. And they say, if your heart hasn't been broken, you can't write beautiful music, or at least I've heard that once upon a time. So if I think the element of passion is extremely important, but not to get too caught up in that, and to also remind ourselves of compassionate love, which is walking down the street and seeing a homeless person and throwing them some change, or doing something nice for someone, or saying hello to someone on the street, or wishing somebody who especially has done you wrong, wishing that person well. That's compassionate love.
That's interesting. Because compassion from a root is passion for the other. Com is the prefix for the other, which is kind of interesting. When you read that, when you sing that song, it almost reminds me of a song from when I was a kid. I don't want to ever fall in love again. All you get is a cold.
How does that
I'll
go?
never fall in love again.
You know what? I don't know that, but send me a link. And that just reminded me, one of my favorite, all-time favorite songs about love is Foreigner. And I think you played this to me the other day too, or you sent me a link or something, and I went like, you know what I'm saying. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. And that lyric, I think if we can sum up, you have to show somebody love. And that means showing up, that means doing something that makes that person feel great. That's love. And if it's romantic.
So in a few days, Valentine's Day, you heard it from Anna. If you want to show love, you're going to have to show up.
Show up, and especially show up during a pandemic where you can't show up for the most part. You can't even get on a plane, let alone leave your home. We're all being told to sit on our butts and, you know, do something out of the ordinary. Do something that shows somebody that you care. And if you can't show up in person, FaceTime. If you can't FaceTime, well, who can't FaceTime these days? If you don't have internet, write a letter and be romantic.
Love letters are fun. We're going to take a break and come back in just a minute with Anna Cyzon talking about people that might be alone during this time as well. Stay with us.
कोविड-19 का हल सिर्फ आपके पास है। घर पर रहें और अगर आपको बुखार या दूसरी अलामत है तो दूसरों से दूर रहें। बाहर के अफराद से 2 मीटर का फासला रखें, चाहे वो खानदान के हों या करीबी दोस्त। ऑफिस और पब्लिक प्लेसेस पर मास्क पहने, वक्फे से हाथ धोएं, ऑनलाइन सेल्फ असेसमेंट करें और जरूरत पड़ने पर टेस्ट करवाएं। फैलाव की रोकथाम के लिए हमारा फर्ज अभी मुकम्मल नहीं हुआ। हम एक दूसरे के ताउन से सबकी हिफाजत यकीनी बना सकते हैं। मजीद जानने के लिए ontario.ca/coronavirus पर विजिट कीजिए।
घर खरीदने का इरादा हो तो सबसे बड़ा मसला मॉर्गेज की अप्रूवल, मगर अब ये मसला नहीं रहा क्योंकि हमारे साथ हैं मॉर्गेज एडवाइजर मोइन अहमद। मॉर्गेज अप्रूवल सिर्फ एक कॉल के फासले पर। कॉल कीजिए 416-666-1563 और $3,000 कैश हासिल करें। सम कंडीशंस अप्लाई। कॉल कीजिए 416-666-1563। मॉर्गेज एडवाइजर मोइन अहमद।
Buying or selling a residential or commercial property is one of the biggest financial decisions most people will make in their life. The real estate lawyers at Alum Law Chambers will guide you through the complete real estate laws to ensure your transaction completes on time and your dreams come true. Reliable and affordable. Alum Law.
Was your family or business prepared for this financial crisis? Want to learn how I prepare my clients with the essential financial planning pyramid for any financial crisis come their way? Hello, this is Zahid Sayed from Arooj Financial. For your complimentary Zoom or Skype meeting, call my office at 905-624-0008 or visit aroojfinancial.com.
Are you looking for a different type of realtor? Meet Sohail Khan, broker owner of Century 21 Innovative Realty Inc. You don't need to know a lot about real estate, but you do need to know Sohail Khan, who knows a whole lot about real estate. He knows contracts, negotiations, research, he knows the market, and he really knows the area. When it comes to real estate buying or selling, Sohail Khan is a know-it-all. Get to know Sohail Khan. 416-822-0305 or at sohailkhan.ca. Experience excellence.
टीम फरहान मॉर्गेज सॉल्यूशंस आपकी खिदमत में पेश 15 साल तजर्बे के हामिल, आपकी जरूरियात और मर्जी के एन मुताबिक कारोबारी, रिहायशी, तामीराती और ज़रूरी मॉर्गेज सर्विसेज। हमारा कम तरीन मॉर्गेज रेट। टीम फरहान
को एक दफा खिदमत का जरूर मौका दीजिएगा। And this is my personal promise to you, you will not be disappointed.
At Team Farhan, we have a mortgage solution designed for you. मज़ीद मालूमात के लिए 416-569-9294 या फिर विजिट कीजिए हमारी वेबसाइट www.teamfarhan.com।
Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Hour on Canada One TV. You know, we just spent the last couple of minutes talking with Anna Cyzon, an incredible songwriter and performer who you can catch on Spotify and on her website, and often playing at a great restaurant when it's open down in Yorkville called Sophia, and at the, what was the other one in
Poetry Jazz Cafe.
Poetry Jazz Cafe and AM Coffee Studio or places like that. But we were talking about love and relationships. But the other thing is that there's a lot, and I think even more, songs about love breaking up and relationships that aren't working, and sorrow than there is about getting together and the passionate part of love. And I'm reminded of one that you sang recently. What was that called?
That was, I believe, Say Something.
Say Something, I'm Giving Up on You, which was really poignant because it was almost someone who was desperate to get back in love with someone who had left.
And who's that?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a very powerful song. I mean, you're absolutely right. I think, at least for myself, and I think I can speak on behalf of most people, that those songs about heartache, there's this element of comfort, right? Where you hear a song like Adele, never mind, I'll find someone like you. And it's like, holy shit, you know, her life didn't work out. Now she's looking for someone that's like this guy. And your heart's just breaking into a million pieces. But I think people can relate because everyone's had their heart broken at some point or another. And
Well, Drake calling and You Used to Call Me on your cell phone.
oh yeah, that's a great one too. You used to call me on, yeah, and that's his like hip hop way of being like, damn, I miss you calling me. I'm sad, right?
And I thought the Adele one, maybe it's the same one, I can't, but when she's wishing someone well that went on to someone else.
I think that's the hello. What's the chorus on that? Yeah. Hello from the other side. I must have called 1,000 times. Is that what you're talking about?
I think so.
To tell you I'm sorry. I don't know. She's wishing her lover, her ex-lover, well, I think on most of the songs, if not explicitly at least.
But it's interesting that there's so many because it's almost as if people really want to express their sorrow, and other people want to listen to that sorrow.
Absolutely.
And you know, even country music is even more so like that. About you know, I'm out of love and they killed my dog or whatever. Like it's like unbelievable. Why are there so many songs about falling out of love or love cratering or the ends of love?
I would say from an artist standpoint, for myself, I've written probably more songs about heartache than I have happy songs, because it's an outlet. Artists, again, I can't speak on behalf of every artist, but for myself, like when I'm going through something and I don't know where to put that sorrow and pain, and I can go...
That's when you get creative.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, you can go have a fight with someone, punch something, or I don't know, escape through alcohol or drugs, or you can sit with that pain. And if you're a creative person, whether you're a visual artist or you're someone who sits down on a piano, or you know, have a vehicle to carry your vocal on, whether it's a guitar or producer or something, then you can create magic, and those emotions are real. And then when they're captured in a song or a piece of art, whatever that may be, then that will resonate with people, because that's true, real, raw emotion. And maybe we're better when we are broken and we write, you know, painful things, and then the rest of humanity can relate to that than when we are, if you're happy and you know it.
But it's interesting because, you know, so many things in life, whether it's wisdom, whether it's you know, getting stronger, come from tough times. You know, whether it's a failure in an entrepreneurial environment or a business environment or a relationship environment or whatnot, that is where you learn. That is where you get wise. And so therefore, while it's tough to go through, we've got to learn. We've got to see these as learning opportunities, as growing opportunities, as part of the journey of life that makes it more interesting.
Absolutely. I love that growth. And I think if I even look back at my songs from like my first album, I was a whiny like 20-something-year-old, you know, I only give a damn about my reputation. And then the songs as I grew, that's the word really, you touched on it, growth. You know, as a woman, as a human, as a writer, off of my last Letters to Love album, which I released last year around this time, like all those songs are about love, and all those songs are pretty much about one person. And there's one song where I'm thinking it's over and I'm questioning, is it over? It's called Over. And then Letters to Love, the title song off the title of what the album title is, Letters to Love, is exactly that. It's I wish you nothing. I wish you only the very best that life can bring.
So the song that you were just talking about Tell Me Something, I'm giving up on. Say Something, I'm giving up on you, really is about someone desperate for the other person to reinitiate. So it's a really sad song.
Yeah, to say something. It's like the relationship is hanging on its last thread, and it takes two to tango, right? It takes two people to create something. It takes two people to destroy it, and I think it takes two people to choose each other. So if one person is, I think the funny thing too about love is that. There's a line in a Terence D'Arby song that says, all poets must have an
Unrequited
love. And I think that this is what a lot of love songs are talking about.
Unrequited love,
Yes.
a love that's not returned. Can you sing it for us?
Say something?
Yes.
For you, anything, Brian. Say something, I'm giving up on you. I'm sorry that I couldn't get to you. Anywhere I would have followed you. Say something, I'm giving up on you. I'm feeling so small. I was over my head. I knew nothing at all. And I stumble and fall. I'm still learning to love. Just starting to crawl. Say something, I'm giving up on you. I'm sorry that I couldn't get to you. Anywhere I would have followed you. Say something, I'm giving up on you.
Beautiful. Thank you. But it's interesting, and I guess I'd forgotten about it until listening to you so closely. The singer actually takes some responsibility themselves, that they're just they're learning to crawl. So they're not great at love either.
Absolutely.
And so they're not putting the blame on the other person, or just on the other person. They're taking some blame themselves. And it reminds me of a song that The Weeknd does, which is
In your eyes, I see the fire burning inside you. Is that what you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. But that's one where The Weeknd takes a lot of responsibility on himself for the failure in love. And so I guess that's one of the answers, is that if love falters, you got to look at yourself and see what your responsibility is for it.
Absolutely. I think it's so easy to point the finger at the other person, right? And that's what we're all guilty of also, which is like, well, you didn't do this, or you did that, or you weren't enough of this, or you were too much of that. That's the easiest thing to do, is put the blame on somebody else. The hardest thing to do is to do the work yourself, and to look at yourself, take a long, hard look at yourself and go, where could I have been better? And sometimes it doesn't happen right away. Sometimes it doesn't even happen, a week or two or a month after the demise of a relationship or a love gone bad. But sometimes it's a retrospective thing where, a year later, somebody takes accountability and they say, wow, I could have been much better of a person or a better partner. I could have done so many things different. But the thing is, you can't go back and you can't turn that time around. So I think if there's a light that goes off, that's like, I'm not perfect, because nobody's a perfect human being, and relationships, we know, are compromised. Love is compromised. But I think real love also, outside of the passion and all the stuff that happens at the beginning where it's just chemistry and this fueling of fires, real love is work, but it also should flow in a way where two people are aligned and they're growing together. And, you know, someone once upon a time gave me this analogy of partnership being akin to like walking up a mountain. And the person that's in front, when they tire, that person behind them hands them a water bottle and they say, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pull the weight now. And that person, then they switch and the partner goes down and he takes a sip of water, and then, you know, they're taking turns climbing the mountain. And I love that because I think that's the work.
That partnership analogy is a wonderful analogy, and I think the flower analogy that we talked about earlier is a wonderful analogy, where you want to fertilize, you want to provide water, and you don't want to cut it and pick it and bring it inside and let it die.
But what do we do as humans?
We too often pick it and bring it inside.
Every occasion, Valentine's, birthdays, anniversaries,
Pick
we
some
go
flowers.
and we get flowers, and then those
So
flowers
this
die.
Valentine's, give a plant, don't give flowers.
Yeah, go get a nice orchid from your favorite florist, or I don't know, or give love, you know, however, whatever your way is. If it's intimate with your significant other, then do that. Make lots of love. And if you don't have a partner, there's a lot of people that are alone and during trying times. Love yourself. Love yourself. Run yourself a hot bath. You know, throw some salt, whatever you throw in there, some oils, and then send a text to someone.
But I think good idea. But I think one of the other things that we've talked about, which you mentioned, is when things do falter, do the thinking. And what did you do to contribute? Don't just blame the other.
Absolutely.
Think about what you could have done better. And I think that's so critically important. And if people want to check out your music, how do they do that?
I just want to add taking accountability. That's like the biggest A of life. Accountability for yourself. Where can people find me?
Yes.
Well, you can't. I'm in outer space. Just kidding. You can search my music online, cyzonmusic.com. That's the website. Of course, you can find me at Anna Cyzon on all social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. Sometimes I abbreviate it to just Cyzon. If you type in Cyzon,
And how do you spell Cyzon?
CYZ, as we say in Canada. And if there's any Americans watching, then ZON.
CYZON. Anna Cyzon, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. You know, I think that the conversation we had about love, both the positive part of love that we talked about in the first segment, as well as the challenges in love that we talked in our second segment today, are the most important, wonderful things in life. Like, that's what life is about. Mm-hmm. And it is both the good and the bad, because that is part of the journey of life. And so therefore, when you're thinking about Valentine's Day coming up next week, music is an important part of it, there's no question. Finding someone you can have a beautiful, wonderful dinner with would be a helpful thing. But if you are alone, or if you've gone through a struggling situation, think about some of the things that Anne and I were talking about, if you could, in regards to, do you take responsibility? Have you some responsibility for what went wrong? Are you the individual that in Anna's song either didn't want to love and was therefore restricting their ability to enter into that relationship, or the person who was just crawling in their relationship and their abilities to love another person? But bottom line, I think, you know, you said it earlier, and I've heard it from numerous other guests, until you can love truly someone else, you have to love yourself. You've got to do the work to figure out who you are and what you're all about before you can possibly. And too many people do want to have a loving life by getting someone else to love them, and it's a very selfish love.
And dangerous love.
And
we're filling our voids with another person, when in relationships we want to stand as two individual wholes that come together, as opposed to, you know, I'm empty and you're empty, so let's fill each other up. It doesn't work that way. You have to feel complete, and we are never complete in our process, but there's a place I think that we all get where we feel like an individual, and then we want to share our lives with someone else because we feel content where we are. A lot of people rush into relationships or are seeking love to fill voids that otherwise they should try to fill themselves before patching those things up, you know, it's like a Band-Aid solution in my humble opinion. But I mean, to each their own.
I had an interview with a doctor who reminded me when we were talking about a bunch of scientific medical stuff, that the heart is a muscle. And the more you exercise it, the stronger and stronger and stronger it'll grow.
I love
And
that.
sometimes you actually gotta stress it. You gotta get out and run a wind sprint, or you gotta do some cardiovascular activities, because you want to make sure that that heart can withstand anything. And so you got to stress it. So some of the stresses in life and some of the challenges in life are to make that heart stronger. And if it works for the real heart, I think it works for the loving heart as well. So think about the heart being a muscle, and maybe that'll help you think through this Valentine's Day, whether it's a wonderful Valentine's Day or a challenging Valentine's Day for you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Anna, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
That's the Brian Crombie Show on Canada 1 TV for tonight. Thanks.